As we run out of ground in the Yukon, it'd be nice to have had a season or two under our belt and to say, okay, here's the score, here's what the ground's like in Alaska. Got to keep your mind on the future, right?
$350,000 for one season of work. That's the staggering amount Mitch Blaschke, the longtime mechanic and trusted right-hand man of Parker Schnabel, reportedly earned during Season 16, Episode 16 of Gold Rush. What makes it even more surprising is that this came during a season the crew themselves described as a failure. At the beginning of the season, Parker had set a massive goal, 9,000 ounces of gold. But when the harsh Yukon mining season finally ended, the crew had recovered only about 6,200 ounces, nearly one-third short of the original target. On paper, it looked like a major setback. Yet when the final weeks wrapped up and the numbers were counted, something unexpected became clear. Even in a season that fell short of its goal, the crew was still earning paychecks most people wouldn't see in an entire decade. If you enjoy behind-the-scenes stories from gold mining and the real numbers from Gold Rush, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next discovery. The frozen ground fought them all year. Machines broke down, weather slowed progress, and gold production never quite matched expectations. Yet when the money finally landed in the bank accounts of the crew, nobody seemed too upset. Behind the scenes, there's a powerful financial engine running through Gold Rush that can turn even a disappointing season into life-changing income. Season 16 began with Parker setting the most ambitious goal of his career, 9,000 ounces of gold, worth roughly $31.5 million at current prices. To reach that target, Parker put Tyson Lee in charge of operations at Dominion Creek. Tyson was responsible for running 2 wash plants at the same time in an attempt to dramatically increase production. At the same time, Mitch Blaschke and Brennan Rouault were running another operation at Sulphur Creek. At one point, the team had 4 wash plants operating simultaneously, supported by more than 60 heavy machines. Just keeping everything moving cost well over $100,000 every single week. But as the weeks passed, the numbers began to tell a different story. Production wasn't hitting the pace Parker had hoped for. Eventually, he had to make a difficult decision and lower the target from 9,000 ounces down to 7,500. Then came the final gold weigh-in. When the numbers were counted, the crew had produced about 6,200 ounces of gold. At today's prices, that's still around $21.7 million worth of gold, an enormous amount by normal standards. But for a team chasing nearly $32 million, it felt like a painful miss. For the second season in a row, Parker had set an aggressive goal and failed to reach it. By the end of the season, the crew looked exhausted. Months of long hours, freezing conditions, and constant mechanical problems had taken their toll. Many of them felt like they had let the operation down. Then the paychecks arrived. This is where the reality behind Gold Rush becomes clear. Even during a tough season, like Season 16, Episode 16, the wages for Parker's crew are far higher than most viewers expect. A new worker on Parker's team usually starts at around $28 an hour. But these aren't normal work schedules. A typical mining week can stretch to 70 or even 75 hours. Over the course of a 6-month mining season, that alone can add up to roughly $65,000 in base pay for someone just starting out. Take Michael Thompson, who operated the wash plant called Bob at the Bridge Cut during the season. He was still fairly new to the operation, learning the system and gaining experience. Even so, his base pay likely ended up higher than what many blue-collar workers earn in more than a year. For the experienced crew members, the numbers climb even higher. Brennan Ruo, Parker's skilled excavator operator who returned after working with Kevin Beats, earns close to $40 per hour. Brennan has been involved with Parker's mining operation on and off since 2015. He knows the equipment so well that he can often sense when something is about to break before the warning lights even appear. By the end of the season, his base earnings can exceed $90,000. Then there's Tyson Lee, the foreman running operations at Dominion Creek. Managing 2 wash plants at the same time means supervising large crews, coordinating equipment, and solving mechanical disasters as they happen. People in positions like Tyson's typically bring in somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 during a season. And then there's Mitch Blaschke. After more than 9 seasons working alongside Parker, Mitch has become the mechanic the entire operation depends on. In the remote Yukon, replacement parts can take 2 weeks or more to arrive. That means Mitch often has to keep multi-million-dollar machines running, using whatever tools and creativity he has available. Parker trusts him so much that Mitch can run entire mining sites by himself when necessary. His base seasonal earnings alone approach $130,000. But those base wages are only part of the story. Because on Gold Rush, the real money often comes from what happens when things go wrong. Imagine this moment late in the season. It's 2:17 in the morning during week 14, and the hydraulic system on Big Red suddenly fails at Sulphur Creek. For most people, that would mean frustration and exhaustion after months of non-stop work. But Mitch Blaschke doesn't complain. He runs straight toward the machine. Because in gold mining, every minute of downtime can cost thousands of dollars in lost production. And the faster the crew gets those machines running again, the bigger the rewards become by the end of the season. Every hour that a wash plant sits idle costs Mitch roughly $200 in potential end-of-season bonus money. That's the system Parker built. In that world, crawling through frozen mud at midnight to fix a busted hydraulic line isn't just another exhausting job, it's money on the line. Parker's entire operation runs on a performance-based bonus structure. Everyone's earnings are directly tied to how much gold actually makes it into the sluice box. More ounces mean bigger checks for everyone. When Big Red shuts down, it doesn't only affect Parker anymore. Suddenly, it becomes personal for the whole crew. For Mitch, it might be the difference in a mortgage payment. For Brennan, it could mean money toward his kids' college. Every worker on site has a real stake in whether the season ends in victory or disappointment. The formula behind it is fairly simple. A percentage of the total gold value gets set aside and distributed to the team depending on their position and how long they've been part of the operation. For key crew members like Mitch Blaschke and Tyson Lee, that bonus alone can add another $40,000 to $60,000 on top of their base salary. Even during a rough year like Season 16, Episode 16, when production finished about 30% below the original target, the bonus pool generated from $21.7 million worth of gold was still enormous compared to what most people earn annually. Not everyone benefits from the bonus system, though. Entry-level laborers and night truck drivers are usually limited to their hourly wages. That creates a kind of internal hierarchy within the crew. But even those workers receive something valuable that rarely shows up in the numbers: free housing and meals for 6 months in one of the most remote and expensive regions on Earth. That perk alone can save thousands of dollars over the course of a season. But there's another piece of the puzzle most viewers never think about. The real game changer is television money. This is the part of reality television that often stays behind the curtain. The miners on Gold Rush aren't simply working while cameras follow them around. They're also getting paid to appear on the show, and those payments can be massive. Gold Rush isn't just a small documentary about miners digging for gold. It's one of the highest-rated programs on the Discovery Channel, running for more than 16 seasons and drawing millions of viewers every Friday night. The series turned Yukon miners into recognizable television personalities, launched multiple spin-offs, and essentially created an entire entertainment industry centered around modern gold mining. Being part of a show that's successful comes with serious financial rewards, often far larger than what the mining alone provides. For the main bosses, people like Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, and Rick Ness, the estimated television pay ranges between $25,000 and $30,000 per episode. Some reports even suggest Tony Beets could earn $150,000 to $200,000 per episode, thanks to his long history with the show and his huge fan base. A typical season runs about 20 episodes, meaning Parker alone can make well over $500,000 per year, just from appearing on camera, completely separate from the gold his crew mines. The supporting cast members earn substantial checks too, which is where the numbers from season 16 begin to make a lot more sense. Brennan Rouault, who has been part of the show for nearly 9 years and appeared in more than 68 episodes, is estimated to earn around $25,000 per episode. Over a full season, that could mean close to $500,000 in television income alone. Mitch Blaschke is in a similar category. Since joining the show, back in 2010, he has appeared in more than 128 episodes. Over time, he's become just as recognizable on television as he is under the hood of Parker's machines. Even some of the newer faces who receive significant screen time, like Tyson Lee managing the Dominion Creek operations or Michael Thompson learning the ropes at the wash plant, can reportedly earn around $10,000 per episode. Across a 20-episode season, that alone adds up to about $200,000 on top of whatever they make through mining wages. When the season finally ended in late October, the wash plants shut down, equipment was winterized, and the crew headed back to their homes across Canada and the lower 48 states. Everyone carried the exhaustion of 6 brutal months in the Yukon. Then, within a few weeks, the deposits started appearing in their bank accounts. Mitch Blaschke saw his first payment arrive, the mining wages. Roughly $127,000 for 6 months of keeping the Sulphur Creek operation alive, repairing multi-million-dollar machines in conditions that would defeat most mechanics. That paycheck alone was solid money, the kind that makes those endless 16-hour days feel somewhat worthwhile. Soon after came the bonus distribution from the season's $21.7 million gold haul. Because of his role, his experience, and his importance to the operation, Mitch received another $52,000 from the bonus pool. That pushed his mining earnings for the season to about $179,000. But Mitch had also appeared in 19 of the season's 20 episodes. With 9 years on the show and more than 128 total appearances across his Gold Rush career, he had reached the level where cast members command top-tier television rates, the kind reserved for personalities that fans recognize instantly. When that television payment arrived, estimated at roughly $475,000 for season 16 appearances, Mitch Blaschke's total earnings for the year landed at just over $350,000 after taxes and deductions. All of that during a season everyone kept calling a failure. A year when the crew missed their production target by almost a third. For Brennan Rouault, the numbers told a very similar story. The skilled excavator operator, who rejoined Parker's crew after working with Kevin Beats, had been part of Parker's operation on and off since 2015. And despite the challenges of season 16, his combined mining pay and television earnings still placed him far ahead of what most workers could ever expect from a single year in the gold fields. He knew exactly what he was getting into when he signed on. His base pay for the season sat around $92,000, and his share of the gold performance bonus added another $38,000 thanks to the crew's final haul. Then came the television side of things. After appearing in 18 episodes and with more than 68 total appearances across his career on Gold Rush, his estimated rate of about $25,000 per episode brought in close to $450,000 more. By the time everything was counted, his combined take-home from season 16 climbed past $300,000. And remember, Brennan Rouault had actually left Kevin Beats's operation midway through the season to return to Parker's crew. Looking at the final numbers, it's not hard to understand why. Then there was Tyson Lee, a newer face to the main cast, but heavily featured as the foreman overseeing Dominion Creek's 2 wash plants. His season turned into a financial breakthrough of its own. His base wages landed somewhere around $108,000, the kind of foreman pay that comes with the pressure of coordinating dozens of workers across multiple sites. On top of that, his share of the performance bonus added roughly $45,000. But the real boost came from television. Appearing in about 16 episodes at an estimated $15,000 per episode, Tyson earned another $240,000, money he likely never would have seen in a normal foreman job. When everything was totaled, his season ended with roughly $390,000 in take-home pay. Even Michael Thompson, brand new to the operation, walked away with a completely different life than the one he started with. His base mining wages came out to around $68,000. Solid pay for a first-year worker still learning how the entire system operates. Under Parker's rules, first-year workers don't qualify for the production bonus, so that part wasn't available to him. But television changed everything. As the rookie viewers watched, learn the ropes at the wash plant called Bob, the guy making mistakes early on but slowly figuring things out, he ended up appearing in about 12 major episodes. At roughly $8,000 per episode, that added another $96,000 he never expected when he first agreed to dig frozen ground in the Yukon. By the end of the season, a first-year miner had taken home over $160,000 from a single run. And these weren't rare exceptions. These weren't unusual lucky breaks. These were fairly typical outcomes for key members of Parker Schnabel crew during a season that the team itself considered disappointing. But that raises an obvious question. If the television money is that huge, why does the gold itself still matter so much? The answer is simple. Parker pays for everything up front. Every dollar needed to run the operation comes out of his pocket long before a single ounce of gold slides through the sluice box. The fuel that powers more than 60 machines running nearly 16 hours a day. The million-dollar excavators that constantly need repairs. The wash plants that always seem to break down at the worst possible moment. Replacement parts that have to be shipped to one of the most remote regions in North America. Land leases that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Weekly operating expenses that can climb above $100,000, whether gold is coming in or not. And then there's payroll. dozens of workers being paid through 6 exhausting months in the Yukon. If the entire season collapses, if the equipment fails beyond repair, if the ground turns out to hold almost no gold at all, Mitch Blaschke still gets paid. Brennan Ruo still gets paid. Tyson Lee still gets paid. Even the newest laborers still walk away with their wages. Parker is the one who absorbs the loss. That's why the gold still matters. That's why the tension you see on screen is real. Parker isn't just performing for the cameras. He's racing to recover millions of dollars in upfront costs before the season runs out of time. A truly disastrous season wouldn't just hurt Parker Schnabel's reputation, it could threaten the entire mining empire he's built. His estimated net worth is around $10 million, but most of that money isn't sitting in a bank. It's locked into heavy equipment, mining claims, and the constant gamble that the Yukon still holds more gold. The loyalty from crew members like Mitch Blaschke, Brennan Ruo, and Tyson Lee isn't just about the paycheck. It's also about respect for the man who takes the biggest risks so the crew can still get paid, even in a rough season on Gold Rush. And when the Yukon thaws again, they'll all be back. Long hours, freezing mud, and non-stop breakdowns, not because it's easy, but because even in a season where Parker missed his goal, the pay still beats most careers. Season 16 was called a failure. 9,000 ounces expected. About 6,200 recovered. Yet many crew members still walked away with 6-figure earnings. Because on Gold Rush, the real rule isn't just about finding gold, it's about the paychecks that keep coming. Subscribe for more real Gold Rush stories and behind-the-scenes mining secrets.